Canada became a nation on July 1st, 1867, under the British North American Act. Canada was made up of 4 provinces: New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Ontario, and Quebec. Canada's government featured the parliamentary system of the British government and the federal system of the American government. In 1867, Britain controlled all of Canada's actions. To increase population, Canada offered 65 hectares of land to anyone willing to immigrate here. As Canada neared the 20th century, the country's land area, population, and economy grew. People around the world started to take notice of Canada. Canada rung in the 20th century style, with bells ringing and cannons roaring along the Canadian skyline. Even though Canada was a young nation, they were starting to take their first steps on the international stage. In 1904, Wilfrid Laurier famously said the 20th century would belong to Canada. Canada's major cities were becoming bustling business centers. 60% of Canada's population lived in rural areas and farmland. As Canada started to exit the first decade of the 20th century, life became more modern. Forms of transportation such as the bicycle and the automobile allowed farmfolk an easier way to travel into the city, although only the rich could afford cars, and 1 in 12 Canadians had bikes. Even though technology was advancing, racial equality wasn't. Blacks, Jews, Italians, Asians, and Arab immigrants faced heavy discrimination. In fact, in 1914, a number of sects on the Komagadi Maru weren't allowed in Vancouver. While Canada was making a lot of progress, there was still a long way to go.
During the early 1900s, British imperialism was a major issue that divided Canada between the English Canadians and the French Canadians. Okay, so Bob Englishman, what are your thoughts on imperialism?
Why did you ask the Englishman first?
I'm sorry, Jean-Pierre.
It's Jean-Pierre Pierre Jean.
I'll make it something else, you baguette blowing piece of shit.
No. We are here to discuss imperialism.
I believe we should stay with the Empire. Why? We have to support them. Britain is our country. Okay? We need them. They are our provider. We have to be loyal to them.
Loyal? They haven't been loyal to us. They will take away our heritage, our culture, something that means a lot to me.
Well, since you guys are pretty divided, I guess we can try and create a compromise.
No, that's betraying Britain. How dare you? But Prime Minister, what?
So what happened the morning of June 28th, 1914? I was in Sarajevo when the Archduke and his lady came to visit. They were riding in on a limousine. Anything else? Around 10, their car was nearing City Hall. Someone threw a bomb and it exploded on the hood of the limousine. The Archduke was fine, but a few minutes later, this young guy came in, fired 2 shots. They were both dead. So what happened after the murders were committed? Shortly after the incident, they arrested the guy and a few other guys. Turns out they were part of this terrorist group from Serbia called the Black Hand or whatever. So sad. So what happened after the murders were committed? Well, Austria-Hungary blamed Serbia for the deaths, and they gave them 2 days to sign an ultimatum. Did Serbia agree to all the terms in the ultimatum? They agreed to the first 2. This pissed off Austria-Hungary very much, and then they declared war on Serbia on July 26, 1914. Russia, an ally of Serbia, mobilized its troops, and France, an ally in Russia, did the same thing. How did the Germans get into this war? Germany was threatened by their neighbors' actions. They declared war on Russia on August 1st, 1914, then France the very next day. How did the British get into this war? Well, Germany had planned to attack France through small Belgium, and since the Brits and Belgium had a treaty signed that if war occurred and Belgium was attacked, the Brits would step in, and that's what happened. The British stepped in. By midnight of August 4th, 1914, all the countries except for Italy of the 2 alliances stepped in. And that's how World War I began. Although we, the soldiers, are some of the toughest, bravest men out there, we're like mice in the trenches, scurrying around for hours on end. The trenches themselves are like mazes. If mazes were mud-infested duckboards covered in feces and water, filled with the bodies of men who were killed months ago. It's a horror. Machine guns are fired day and night across opposing sides. Every morning, I wake up to the sounds of both sides blasting away at each other. The most disgusting thing I've heard of here is trench foot, where the foot becomes cold and wet and germ in the trenches, and then blisters and sores occur on the foot, leading to fungi infections. Ugh. It's horrid. Men have lost limbs, arms, legs. Some of them have even gone crazy. I used to think the other guys on the other side were the enemies. Now I think it's the battle itself that's the enemy. This is Chip Dalerson with the Daily News. The following news has been mandatorily verified by the government to the people. This is from the government to the people. We are all asking you to do what you can do to contribute overseas. We are asking for you to donate money for war supplies and cut down on foods for our fighters overseas. Farmers should also plant crops for plants and vegetables for the soldiers. Fundraisers are encouraged for war victims and relief. Breaking news. The Parliament has just passed the ruling of the War Measures Act, which means effective immediately, the government will now have the right to place restrictions on enemy islands or people of ancestry from Central Power countries. As I say unto you, good night and good luck. Okay, this is Bruce Ellington bringing you the best fads and trends of the roaring 20s. Here comes jazz, moving quickly from New Orleans, Louisiana up to Canada, with the Charleston dance following its lead. Looks like Mahjong is trying to break up the fad, but the crossword puzzle breaks up the play. It's a marathon of marathons out there. There's talking, kissing, eating, drinking. Man, that guy's also fired off his ass. But dancing's getting a lead, and look at that flapper over there. The young man in the corner is sporting some knickers, a goofy hat and a bow tie. He's got an awful lot of grease on his hair, and he's gotten it all over the... Oh no, it's all over the track. Oh, shh!
Businesses started producing large amounts of goods, and while Canada was in prosperity, they could only afford so much. Canada's economy depended on wheat, fish, minerals, and pulp and paper. The Depression devastated countries around the world, so demand for these products only fell low. During the 1920s, we purchased 65% of our imports from the U.S., and 40% of our exports went to the U.S. So it was natural when the U.S. got sick, we got sick. Countries adopted protective tariffs to protect their home industries from foreign competition. While they did protect home industries, they choked off international trade. people got themselves into debt with credit line. During the Depression, people lost everything when creditors repossessed their underpaid belongings. People invested an awful lot of their money into the stock market, and when stocks fell, people panicked and sold stocks to get out of the market. This caused prices to drop, and stocks eventually got dumped, causing the stock market to come crashing down.
Deutsche Volksgenossen und Genossinnen. Am 30. Januar dieses Jahres wurde die neue Regierung der nationalen Konzentration gebildet. Ich und damit die nationalsozialistische Bewegung traten in sie ein. Ich glaube, dass nunmehr die Voraussetzungen erreicht sind, um die ich das vergangene Jahr gekämpft habe. Wir wollen nicht lieben und wollen nicht spenden. Ich habe es abgelehnt, jemals vor dieses Volk hinzutreten und billige Versprechungen zu geben. In uns selbst allein.
In the 50s and 60s, Canada began to create its own identity, beginning with the events following the Suez War. Due to mistaking them as Brits, the Egyptians refused the peacekeeping efforts of the Canadians. The background of Parliament Building.
Centennial celebrations. The Order of Canada was created in 1967. Canadians again distinguished for outstanding achievements.
There have been over 6,000 recipients of the Order of Canada, including Terry Fox, Wayne Gretzky, and Celine Dion.
Hello?
Yeah?
Is Mr. Cross here?
Yeah, he's here. I'll go get him. What can I do for you fine gentlemen?
Oh, I'm Franklin, and this is my friend Boomstick. How's it going, Mr. Cross? We brought you a gift.
Oh, thank you so much.
Get him!
Hello. I identify myself as a member of the FLQ. We demand for the release of 23 political prisoners being held for bombing and terrorist attacks. We also demand transportation to Cuba or Algeria, $500,000 in gold bars, and the publication of the FLQ Manifesto. You have 48 hours to comply, or James Cross will be killed.
On behalf of the Quebec government, I proclaim the War Measures Act. I justify this due to these kidnappings being the beginning of a conspiracy to overthrow the government.
Mr. Trudeau, are you sure you can do that?
Just watch me. Mr. Cross! Mr. Cross! Come on, boys! We found him! We found him!
Are you sure about this hiding spot, Franklin?
Both of you shut up! The cops will never find...
Yeah, Danny's right. I'm not so sure about this place.
Surprise, motherfuckers! Y'all are under arrest for Laporte's murder. Ah, fuck!
Thank you so much for listening to my video about Canadian history. I'm so glad I'm done that shit.